Yo, what is up, guys? It's coming back here again today with another video. With another recap of the NBA games from today. As you can probably see, I'm not wearing my usual headset. I just bought this new mic today, so hopefully the sound sounds good. I did a video with it earlier and people said it sounded great, so hopefully that continues over to this one. Last time I had it on this mic stand over here, and this time I'm trying it out handheld because I thought that might kind of help out the quality of the video. So I'm trying this out. Let me know how it sounds. Let me know if you like it better or worse than the previous videos in the comments below. Help me out with that. Give me any suggestions. Doesn't need to be louder, quieter, anything like that. But yeah, so getting into the games today, there were a ton of really impressive performances. This was a great day of basketball. Multiple guys scoring 40 plus points. First, though, I'm going to talk about Nikola Jokic, who didn't do a ton of scoring today, but did pretty much a little bit of everything. The Denver Nuggets beating the San Antonio Spurs by 2 points. This was a really good game. It seemed like the Nuggets kind of had it closed off, and then the Spurs stormed back at the last second. They had like 3 chances to tie/win the game. At the end of the game there, they just could not convert, and the Nuggets ended up escaping, continuing to stay undefeated with Aaron Gordon being on the team. This Nuggets team is really dominant right now, and with this win, they continue to keep pace with the Clippers, who blew out the Rockets. I'm not going to talk about that game because there really isn't that much to talk about. It was a 17-point blowout by the Los Angeles Clippers over a really bad Rockets team. Rockets keep trying to climb in the lottery, but the Nuggets are keeping pace, and that's really all they have to do for Nikola Jokic to win MVP, which is what I mainly want to talk about in this video. How crazy it is that Jokic seems like he's going to win MVP. Yeah, just the concept of Nikola Jokic winning MVP is one that's been talked a lot before. I actually last year, this is a tweet you're definitely going to see pop back up on the timeline if Jokic does end up securing the MVP. I tweeted last year, tell me who you think will be the next person to win their first MVP award. And people are in the comments like Luka. Luka was the main guy. There was like some Jason Tatum and stuff like that. But my pick was Nikola Jokic. I called it a year early. Actually, it was in like February, so it's going to be like a year and some months early before Jokic wins MVP, assuming he does. Right now, I would say he has to be the favorite, but I just want to give myself that pat on the back because I don't get things right a ton of times, at least not things that super far in the future. It's tough to do that, and so if I do get that right, you know I'm going to go on Twitter and brag about it, so be on the lookout for that. But Jokic is a guy who I've seen this MVP thing coming, especially with last season where the Nuggets made the Western Conference Finals. A lot of people think they kind of like overperformed, I guess is what you could say. I don't know if I quite say that because they were a really good team, but most people didn't expect them to beat the Clippers. And then coming into this season, the only reason I thought Jokic might not win MVP is because I didn't know if the Nuggets would be good enough. I know that Jokic is capable of putting up MVP type numbers. We've seen that on a regular basis. The problem is the team, and that's part of why I didn't pick Luka to win MVP this past offseason. Like, he was probably the most popular pick because I didn't think his team was going to be good enough. So ultimately, I did end up picking LeBron James as my preseason MVP pick, and LeBron, he was up there in the race with Joel Embiid before both of them got injured, and now the fact that they have missed this amount of time, Jokic has really stormed to the front. He's become the front runner, and I don't see anyone catching him. I think Jokic is going to be the MVP when it's all said and done. I would be surprised if anyone caught him because, to be honest, the combination of stats he's putting up and the fact that the Nuggets are now winning a lot is really all that needs to be said. If the Nuggets especially secure a top 3 seed, if they manage to catch the Clippers, which they're only 1 game back right now, and they're storming, the Clippers are also playing really, really well, but the Clippers have more injury management type stuff. Patrick Beverley is going to be out for a little bit. I think 3 to 4 weeks it said it was. Paul George and Kawhi Leonard are out sometimes with injury, load management type stuff because they don't care that much about the regular season. And if the Nuggets end up securing a top 3 seed, I don't think there's any chance anyone beats out Jokic for MVP. You can talk about Joel Embiid, but I just think the time that he's missed is going to cost him too much in the eyes of voters. I think ultimately this MVP award is Nikola Jokic's to lose, and it's deserved. The way that he's carried this Nuggets team pretty much all season, you've had great players like Jamal Murray, who is kind of inconsistent, Michael Porter Jr., who's really stepped it up post All-Star break, Aaron Gordon, who came into the fray late. You've had those good players like that, but if you look at pretty much every statistical category for the Denver Nuggets, it's Nikola Jokic at the top. He is he's this team. He is the motor that runs this team, and I think it's super cool to see a guy like Nikola Jokic win MVP. A guy who kind of looks like he's wearing sandals out there playing basketball, which is a weird thing to say about a potential MVP, probable MVP I could even say, but a guy that's just so unique. Seeing him win the past few seasons, it's been a lot of the same guys. We've seen like Giannis, who's become a staple. We've seen Kevin Durant, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, like guys that are known as traditional type stars. Even though they're all unique in their own ways, you've got a guy like Russell Westbrook, who, while his triple doubles were historic, he is a like dominant point guard. We've seen got like dominant forwards like a Kevin Durant. We've another dominant point guard in Stephen Curry, a dominant ball handler in James Harden. It's been mostly like guards, forwards type stuff. Giannis is the closest thing we've seen to a center winning MVP in a long, long time, and he's not even a center. So seeing a guy like Nikola Jokic, who's one of the most unique players to ever play the game, win MVP is great for the league, especially since he's an international player. And now this is 3 straight international MVPs, which is great for growing the game. It's great to see the league expanding that way, and it really is a testament just to how much international talent is in the league right now, especially because the preseason MVP pick for most people was Luka Doncic, another international guy, and instead he's going to lose it to Nikola Jokic, another international guy, who I didn't even mention was drafted in the second round. I believe it was pick 40. I want to say 41 or 43. He was drafted in the 40s. And if I recall correctly, the lowest that an MVP has ever been drafted is pick 15. And that was Steve Nash. I'm pretty sure about that stat. I can check it after the video. And if it's wrong, I'll leave an annotation or something here, but I'm pretty sure that's right. That's about 30 picks before Nikola Jokic was taken. 25, 30 picks. You can pick if you want to round up or not. But that's crazy. For a player like Nikola Jokic, who was, for a while, it was debated between, or in NBA spaces, whether the Nuggets should commit to Jokic or Jusuf Nurkic. It was a debate between those two centers, who is going to be their guy for the future, and they decided to go with Nikola Jokic. Jokic was really shining. He was showing a lot of potential, and they said, all right, Jokic is our guy. We're sticking with this second-round draft pick, and he is going to be our guy. And he became it. He wasn't even supposed to be the guy. Like, he was the guy that was picked to be their center, but not a lot of people saw him becoming the dominant force that he is. And that's really what he is, dominant. And when you look at Nikola Jokic, you do not see dominance, at least looking at him physically. But it's just a testament to how all different kinds of players can dominate in the NBA. We had Isaiah Thomas years ago, being under 6 foot, being like top 5 in MVP voting. At that small stature in a sport that's traditionally thought of as you need height to win. You have Nikola Jokic, who is a passing big man. He is the best passing big man we have ever seen. That is not close. There is no one that's going to come close to Nikola Jokic. He is the best playmaking center we've ever seen. And at the same time, he's dominant as hell from the field. He's just an offensive monster. There are some nights where he is going to get cooked off defensively just because he's not as fast as the opposing player. But if you try and body him up in the post, he's strong. He doesn't necessarily look it as much, but he's strong. He's like really dense. It's hard to move the guy. And so he does have some intangibles on the defensive end, not intangibles. He has some lesser known tangibles on the defensive end of the ball. But just the fact that he's just this dominant, like, offensive dynamo. He's one of the most impressive offensive players we've ever seen. This is one of the most impressive offensive seasons we've ever seen, especially from a guy like Nikola Jokic. And just the way that he's putting it together, he's got this Nuggets team on his back, which is weird to say about a team that went to the Western Conference Finals a year ago, but it's been true this season. Jokic has really been that dominant that he has a Western Conference Finals team on his back in like every statistical category. It's not even close in most of those categories. And I don't think it's going to end up being close with the way Jokic is playing. He can get you a triple-double on any single given night. He can drop 30, drop 40 on any given night. He can drop 20 assists, 20 rebounds. He can do pretty much anything. He's like if Russell Westbrook were a center and wore sandals when he played basketball. So I just want to give a shout to Nikola Jokic, talk about how unique he is, talk about why I'm so excited to potentially see him win MVP, because I do think that it's cool for the league. It's cool to see this new guy come in and win it, a guy that was drafted in the second round. Really a testament to how talent development and scouting has really improved over the past few seasons. I feel like we're seeing more undrafted guys, more like high-level players coming out of these second rounds than normal. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but it's just like a feeling I've had recently. Maybe it's just because I watched too much Oklahoma City Thunder, and I'm watching Lou Dort and Moses Brown play well, especially Lou Dort, undrafted guy. Yeah, so that's what I want to say about Nikola Jokic. I think the award is his to lose. I really don't know if I see anyone taking it from him at this point. It would take either the Nuggets falling off or like a dominant return from Joel Embiid, who just had a poor game against the New Orleans Pelicans. We can talk about that loss in a second. I just don't think I see anyone catching up to Nikola Jokic. I think this is his award, especially also with James Harden now missing some time. Giannis is good, but the Bucks aren't going to be good enough to take it from Jokic's dominant statistical performance. And I think at the end of the season, Jokic is going to be crowned the MVP, which is really cool. We'll see if they're able to pull it off in the playoffs. But overall, cool for him. Happy to see it. Beyond that game, we've got, I guess since I was just talking about, I could talk about Sixers Pelicans. I'm going to keep it short on this one because there were, like I said, a ton of really good games today. I didn't mean to talk about Jokic for that long. Talked about him for about like 9 minutes, which was more than I meant to. But anyways, Sixers Pelicans. This was a disappointing game from the Sixers. This is one they should have won. But it was just Zion's game. Zion just dominated. The Sixers really couldn't stop him. Different guys tried to check him. The Pelicans tried to throw the game away at the end. They had like two terrible turnovers that the Sixers capitalized on one of them, and then the second one, Joel Embiid just threw the ball way out of bounds, trying to hit someone in the corner. Yeah, so Sixers kind of fell apart at the end of the game there. These are games they typically win all season. I've talked about how good teams win bad games. The Sixers didn't do that tonight. It happens. This is a rare occasion because most of the time they will win these bad games. They just didn't quite pull it off tonight. Like I said, Zion was just dominant. There really wasn't anything they could do. Zion really plays like the way I would love to see Ben Simmons play, which is tough because Ben Simmons doesn't quite have the same skill set as Zion. Not that Zion has the same skill set as Ben Simmons, but just the way that Zion attacks every single possession. Zion is looking to attack is a way that I would like to see Ben Simmons play more often. If things aren't happening, try and make something happen. He's not this great offensive player. He's not a great three-point shooter, not that Zion is either, but Zion just attacks. Zion will go at you full steam. He's just going to attack the basket, and whatever happens, happens. If he gets blocked, cool. If he dunks on you, cool. Sometimes I'd like to see Ben Simmons do that, and it's not as easy for him because while he does have a height advantage, he's not this like force of strength and just dense muscle that Zion Williamson is. Zion is quite literally built like a train. And so when he comes at you in the lane, it's almost impossible to stop him. I would just like to see Ben Simmons maybe put on more muscle or just find a way to play like Zion, which is way easier said than done. I just wish Ben Simmons would be more aggressive sometimes because sometimes I know it can be frustrating for Sixers fans to watch Ben Simmons not really push on the offensive side of the ball. Obviously, great defensive player, great playmaker, but that offensive game does need to come along at some point, or hopefully it will come along at some point. And these nights where Joel Embiid very, very rarely has a bad game, they could use that offense from him. It just wasn't there tonight. So next, I want to talk about Timberwolves Celtics. This was a really good game, which you probably wouldn't have expected before the season, but the Celtics have been kind of disappointing this season. They're missing Evan Fournier in this one, who's a good offensive player for them. And ultimately, to score 145 points, Jason Tatum had to score 53 of them. New career high, the third highest scoring mark in Celtics history. Double-double from him. This was just dominance. This was the Jason Tatum game. This was the best game of his career in terms of just individual performance, not like accounting for like playoffs or anything like that. Just statistically, individually, this was Jason Tatum's best game ever. He was dominant. That's really the only way I could describe it. Just hitting shots that looked like impossible. I was like, how the hell is he going to make this one work? And he just did it. Just barely missed a buzzer beater to win in regulation, which would have been super cool to cap off the game. But ultimately, it did allow him to go for a couple more points and get this win in overtime by 9 points. Karl Anthony Towns had a good game. I really want to give a shout out to Marcus Smart, who a lot of possessions checked Karl Anthony Towns really, really well. When people talk about Marcus Smart, they mainly talk about him as a guard defender. Marcus Smart's just a really good all-around defender. He's a really good post defender. One of the better post defenders, especially at the guard position. I don't think there's any guard that's a better post defender than him unless you count Ben Simmons. He is the best guard post defender in the entire league, is what I would say. He plays like a center down low. He was facing up a Karl Anthony Towns, forcing him to take tough shots, trying to swat the ball away. You got a clutch steal in overtime to really seal the game for the Celtics. And this is the Marcus Smart performance that I love to see from him. Every now and again, he has these offensive explosions like he did have tonight. He's just an all-around really well-rounded game. But every single night, you're going to get that defensive intensity. He's going to draw charges. He's going to get in people's faces. And you could ask him to guard a 7-3 guy. And Marcus Smart is going to go, okay, I'll lock him up. I'll do whatever I have to do. And whatever he has to do, if he has to get himself out there on stilts to lock up that 7-3 player, that's exactly what Marcus Smart is going to do. Because he's really committed to that defensive end. It's his calling card. He knows that's his best aspect of his game. And he makes it work. This is why I think he's a really impactful player. This is why I love Marcus Smart as a player, because I love to see these guys that bring that defensive tenacity in times where sometimes guys will shy away from matchups. Marcus Smart every night will go, who is their best player? How tall is he? Doesn't matter. I'm going to guard him, or I want to guard him. And that, I think that's really cool. So I want to give a shout to him. I think he's really impactful to the Celtics team, and the Celtics team continues to roll even without Evan Fournier tonight. Good win for them. Even though the Timberwolves, I know, are at the bottom of the standings, they still put up a really good fight, especially post All-Star break. They've been way better since they hired Chris Finch, and so it's still a good win. Next, I'll talk about Bulls Hawks real quick. This video is getting kind of long, so I'm not gonna hold on it for too long. But Bulls Hawks was, man, this was a tough watch, especially if you were a Bulls fan. If you were a Bulls fan watching this game, I'm really sorry. Zach LaVine, I mentioned earlier that multiple people dropped over 40 points. Zach LaVine had 48 points. If I remember correctly, he had, I think it was 39 heading into halftime, and people were like, oh my god, he could go for 70, he could go for 80. And then the Hawks came out in the third quarter and triple teamed the hell out of him. Every time he touched the ball, he was getting triple teamed, and it was frustrating to watch because even though he was getting triple teamed, Zach LaVine would get the ball to someone else, and they just would not make a play. Kobe White and Tomas Satoransky were not good tonight. They were probably the biggest culprits. Lauren Markkinen was getting cooked on defense. He cannot play defense really at all. I think he's gone after the season for the Chicago Bulls, and despite winning for most of the game, the fourth quarter they just collapsed, and a lot of Bulls fans were really unhappy with Billy Donovan's coaching in the end of that game. He stuck with guys that really weren't getting the job done. Took him too long to put Zach LaVine back in, a guy who was on fire. He was lighting the world on fire, and he just did not play enough at the end of that game. He should have played more minutes. If they're triple teaming him, cool. Let him get the ball to someone else and let them make a play. If you lose by that, then cool, you just lost by that. But you have to put Zach LaVine out there. You have to give him the opportunities to keep doing what he's been doing all game. And some people ask me about what I thought about Billy Donovan as a Thunder coach last season, if there were times where he frustrated me. And yeah, the answer is yes. The biggest thing that I can think of as a Thunder fan, because I always have to fit the Thunder into every single video, is the Rocket series, where Steven Adams was, as I love Steven Adams, by the way. I'm a huge Steven Adams fan. I'm a Thunder fan, so I have to, legally obligated. But Steven Adams was not getting the job done in the Rocket series. He needed to come out more. He should not have been playing as much as he did. And eventually, Billy Donovan kind of figured that out. Our best lineup in that series was when Danilo Gallinari played the center spot. We had the 3-guard lineup with Danilo Gallinari out there. And it worked whenever we played it. Billy Donovan just would not play it enough. Steven Adams was getting picked apart. He would post up and they would double him to try and stop him from getting the turnaround. But he either, one, just failed to back down the defender, or two, would pass the ball out into a turnover, or just not get a good shot off out of the double team, which you have to be able to do if you're getting double teamed. And so we should have been playing more of that small ball center thing, trying to match. You can't really match the Rockets in that fashion. But Danilo Gallinari provided a good option for that because of the way he was able to space the floor. And so we should have run that more. Ultimately, we didn't run it enough. And by the time he figured out it was useful, it was way too late. And Game 7, he didn't do it enough. Not as much as I would have liked to see him do. And we lost. So, yes, that was frustrating. He does sometimes stick too much to his guns. I think he needs to make more adjustments more often, especially tonight where the Bulls were just not getting the job done with the lineup he wanted out there. They should have switched off. They just didn't. Outside of that, Wizards-Warriors, this game was really close. Bradley Beal hit an and 1-3 to ultimately give the Wizards the lead that they held for the rest of the game with just a few seconds left in the game. Shout out to Bradley Beal. He had a really bad game, and he made the play happen when it mattered most. Russ and Curry both had really good games. It was cool to see two Hall of Fame first ballot point guards go at each other. One of my favorite player of all time in Russell Westbrook, and a player I love watching, Stephen Curry. Just super fun to watch. And this game was nice as a Thunder fan because the Wizards are ahead of us in the lottery standings, and I want a top 5 pick. So this now puts us right behind them. If we lose tomorrow, we're tied with them in the lottery standings for that 5th overall pick. So we're climbing fast. Y'all's teams better watch out because if you start winning games, the Thunder are going to catch you. Especially since we have the Philadelphia 76ers tomorrow coming off of a bad loss. I think they're going to beat us by 50. And if you don't believe me, we have lost our past 5 games by an average margin of 29.4 points. And we're now playing the best team in the Eastern Conference. At least, actually, no, not even seeding wise anymore. Second best team in the Eastern Conference in the Philadelphia 76ers. It's going to get ugly really fast. Last time we played a really good team was the Phoenix Suns, and they beat us by 47. So we'll see how that goes. Leave your score predictions below. Let me know how much you think we're going to lose by. And with that being said, I think that's pretty much all I want to talk about. Yeah, I didn't watch enough of the other games. Maybe I could talk about Grizzlies-Knicks real quick. Grizzlies-Knicks was a solid game. It was a really good game up until the end, where actually I guess you could, it depends what perspective you have on this. I think it was a good game because I'm a neutral fan. If you're a Grizzlies fan, you're probably pissed. This was a terrible loss for the Memphis Grizzlies. They had this one sealed away and they let it slip from them. RJ Barrett coming up super clutch in the end of the game and then that overtime period to help lead the Knicks to a win. John Morant played really, really well this game. just wasn't enough. The Grizzlies, if they want to try and make the playoffs, they've got to win these games. This is a game they should have been able to close out. They're young. They'll learn how to do it. It really just showed how much this Knicks team has grown. Last season, the Knicks, instead of trying to make a comeback, would have lost by like 30 at the end of this game, or they would have went down by like 15 and just kind of given up. Instead, the Knicks fought really hard tonight, and that is the difference between them last season and this season. That's part of the culture shift of this New York Knicks team, and it's cool to see them playing good basketball again. So, with that being said, that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about in this video. It was very, very long. Let me know if you like this longer type video. Like I said, a lot of good basketball being played tonight, so I had a lot of things to talk about. Let me know how the new mic sounds. Let me know how much do you think the Thunder are going to lose by tomorrow to the 76ers, and I will see you guys later. Real one, say it back.